Don't put so much pressure on yourself to be the most charismatic version of yourself from the first moments that you go out and start talking to people, right? Every great athlete, they don't just jump straight into the game and start going full speed. No, they warm up, they stretch a little bit. What's up, man? Patrick James here, and welcome to another episode of Raw Dating Advice. Today, we've got an interesting video, and it's a topic that I haven't actually made a video about in quite a while, so I figured I would make this one for you, and it was inspired by a question I got on Instagram from Andrew, who actually attended our last boot camp here about a month ago in Tempe, Arizona. And so his question is, I have a question, man, since I see you're active, hopefully I can get a quick response from you. Lately, when I've been going out on my own, I've been kind of noticing that there's a certain kind of state I haven't been reaching in myself to be this new kind of version of myself I wish to be. Someone who's more social and free in personality. How could I get into that right state before I take action that also helps me drive forward to approaching more and taking more action? I feel like I keep hitting the same roadblock with my emotional state and level of energy before approaching. So this is a great question because I see so many guys struggling with their ability to control their emotional state. And the trap that I see a lot of guys fall into, they want to go out, they want to start approaching women, they want to be meeting more women, but when they see a hot girl, they go, oh, I'm not in a good enough emotional state yet. And so they go to the bar, they get a drink, they drink some alcohol, and they're like, do I feel like I'm in a good state yet? Am I in a good enough state to approach? Not quite. All right, let me get another shot. And then they're like, I think I'm finally starting to feel it. And then they're like, okay, well, all right, I want to go up and talk to that girl. And they go, oh God, this is kind of nerve-wracking. And so they force themselves to do it, and it comes across awkward, or worse, they're like, well, maybe if I just kind of talk to all these other people first, maybe I'll get warmed up a little bit socially, and then I can go talk to that girl over there. And this, my friend, is a vicious downward spiral of doom. And if you can do anything to improve your game, understand that one, you need to be self-aware of when this process is happening within you, and two, understand a few of the things, the fundamentals that we're going to talk about in this video, and start course correcting. Because here's the thing, man, you cannot let your emotional state dictate how much action you're going to take. One of the quotes always stands out to me, and I heard this from Steve Weatherford, who's a Super Bowl champion from back in the day with the New York City Giants, and I met him at a business mastermind that I attended, and one of the things that he said that really resonated with me was, one of the things that I noticed between professional athletes and athletes who never reach their full potential is the professional athletes, they train, they practice, and they keep going even when they don't feel like it, all right? That is the key, even when they don't feel like it. So how do you apply this same type of mentality to your dating life? Well, when you approach a girl, chances are you're probably not gonna be in the mood to approach, right? A lot of times if you're going about your day and you see a hot girl walking by, you can't control that this girl didn't walk by 10 minutes later when you're in a good mood, right? So here's the thing. Are you going to talk to her or not? Which brings me to my first point. Don't make it a bigger deal than it is. When you think of it as like, oh, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do the approach thing, I'm gonna talk to girls, I'm gonna meet girls, and then you go out and you're like, all right, I'm out here, I'm gonna do the approaches, I'm gonna do the thing that Patrick James told me I need to do and start approaching women. The more you call it approaching, the bigger you build it up to be in your head. It's kind of like that moment where if you're dating a girl and she comes to you and she's like, hey, well, what are we? And what she's trying to do is she's trying to put a label on this thing that you guys are doing, when in reality, you are just two people relating to each other. And so don't call it approaching, let's call a spade here. At the end of the day, all it is there's a girl that you find somewhat attractive, she's got you intrigued, are you gonna talk to her or not? And if so, you gotta walk up, get off your ass, and start talking to her. You have to start the conversation, or else chances are you're probably never gonna see this girl again. Don't make it out to be a bigger deal than it is. Call a spade, stop doing the approach thing, and just realize, I'm in this environment right now. Am I gonna talk to this chick, or am I not gonna talk to this chick? The second thing I want to tell you is speed of implementation. Another one of my mentors who ironically ran the mastermind that I met Steve Weatherford at, he actually says this all the time at the bottom of every email that I get from this guy. He says, success loves speed. And one of the things that I've noticed about all the guys who tend to get the highest level of results, not just with women, but in business and entrepreneurship and their social life, with their happiness, with their fulfillment, they take quick action. So the moment they get the impulse to act, they don't increase the amount of time before they actually take the action, right? Because if you get the impulse to act and then you don't take action, at the end of the day, if you never end up taking action, then you might as well just have stayed at home and started mentally masturbating about the idea of approaching women that you're never gonna actually talk to and approach in the first place, right? So if you're out in public, especially if you by yourself, you have to remember speed of implementation, all right? Because there's an evolutionary thing that's literally hardwired into our DNA. And if you want to read more on this, it's literally called the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. But in that book, what they found is that if you take longer than 5 seconds to take the action, then your brain starts wondering, well, is there a reason why I'm not taking action here? And it starts to wonder, well, maybe there's a survival reason why I'm not taking action. And so moral of the story is the longer you take to take action, the more you're gonna actually talk yourself out of doing it. And the chances of you actually walking up, starting a conversation with that girl are slim to none. So the 5-second rule basically states whenever you get the impulse to act, AKA you see a girl, you wanna approach her, just start counting back from 5. Because there's this weird thing that in human nature, whenever we realize that something is a scarce resource or there's an element of urgency to it, our tendency is to take action when there's urgency. So right now, if you find yourself hesitating or not approaching women, it's not important enough to you, or there's not enough urgency for you to do it in the moment. And again, if there's not enough urgency, you're going to freeze, you're going to hesitate. And the more time that you inject into that hesitation or into that freezing action, the less likely you are to actually go up and start the conversation. Hey man, Patrick from the future. If you're interested in improving your ability to meet women on demand and create chemistry out of thin air without having to wait for women to swipe right on you, without having to send any cold DMs, I've been working on a secret coaching program behind the scenes called Women on Demand. If you're interested, check out the link in the description or go to rawdatingadvice.com. Now back to the video. And the third thing I want you to remember is little wins build momentum. Little wins build momentum. And so one of the things that I always kept in mind whenever I wanted to go out and start talking to women and approaching women was that I needed to start building up little wins for myself, so that way when I did present myself, my presence was made known in front of a woman that I was potentially attracted to, I had to be the most charismatic and confident version of myself. And the only way that I could do that is by building up small little wins throughout the day. So for example, one of the things I realized is that for me to feel confident in myself, all I have to do is keep my promises to myself. And if I stopped keeping my promises to myself, then my confidence would actually start to go down and my self-image would start to become more negative rather than a positive self-image. So for example, one of the things that happened when I first dropped out of dental school to go all in to becoming the best dating coach that I possibly could be and starting this YouTube channel about picking up women, when I had a surefire career as a dentist in dental school, I dropped out and I started, and every single day I had to relentlessly build this YouTube channel and build this business, Raw Dating Advice, from scratch, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so every day I would wake up and I'd create these long to-do lists of all the things that I had to get done. And the to-do list would have 10, 15 things that I was gonna just knock off my to-do list day by day. And I realized very quickly that you only have so much time in the day, and you only have so much willpower and focus to dedicate to something during that time that you have throughout the day. And for me, what I found was anytime I had a huge ass to-do list, if I got 10 out of 15 things done, to me internally, I had the emotional feeling of incompleteness, of unworthiness, of not doing what I set out to do. And day by day, the more I had a long to-do list that I wasn't knocking everything off the to-do list done, the more that happened, the less confident I felt in myself. And when I would go out at night and I would go to a bar or to a nightclub where I'd see a girl in public and I want to approach her or start a conversation, that lack of confidence confidence in myself would actually rub off in that conversation versus the few days where I was like, all right, rather than giving me 15 things to get done today, why don't I just get 3 things done today? And in fact, why don't I make those little things that I know for sure I'll be able to get them done today? AKA, if I wake up today and I brush my teeth, I take a shower, and I get a workout in of some sort, then I should feel good about myself at the end of the day. And if I just work for a 3-hour period or something like that. Now that 3 or 4 item to-do list is way easier for me to get done, and it starts the moment that I wake up, even if it's not directly related to me talking to women. And because of that, it was easy for me to knock those 3 or 4 things off my to-do list every single day. And every single day, the more I was able to do that and show up and be disciplined in that action taking, even before I ever approached a single girl, I was more confident in myself. And so for you, have you ever had a moment where you had everything going your way for an entire day, and then at night you hung out with some friends and you just felt free flowing? You were laughing at jokes, people were laughing at your jokes. You were able to get there because you didn't have the fucking weight of the rest of the day weighing you down on your chest, on your shoulders. And so for me, when I think about controlling my emotional state, I understand that it doesn't start the moment I go out to do the approaching thing. I understand that it starts the moment I decide that I'm going to become the type of guy who becomes a high performer in every area of my life. And then when I finally start going out and socializing, hanging out with friends, hanging out in environments where I could meet another woman or approach another woman, those things weren't on my mind. Those were not unfinished loops that I was like, I need to be going out and doing these other things rather than approaching this girl. And just emotionally, I felt more charismatic. And when I felt more charismatic and I felt more confident in myself, taking action was automatic. And when I talked to those girls, I was more free and flowing in conversation. And here's the crazy part. That same mentality of building up those quick wins throughout the day in your own personal life before you ever go out to talk to or approach women also applies to any social environment that you go to when you want to become more free-flowing in conversation with anybody, not just women. Meaning that don't put so much pressure on yourself to be the most charismatic version of yourself from the first moments that you go out and start talking to people, right? Every great athlete, they don't just jump straight into the game and start going full speed. No, they warm up, they stretch a little bit. So when you go out, if you're not used to approaching women, if you're not used to being free-flowing in conversation, if that's not a state that's already automatic for you, then give yourself the ability to warm up. If you allow yourself to just warm up, no pressure with people that you talk to, it actually makes you more likely to succeed in that conversation, which is completely ironic just because you're so unattached from the outcome. And again, they can feel that. As you get used to this and the more you take action, yeah, you probably won't need to continue to warm up every time you go out, but you're not quite there yet. And don't make that a negative. Just accept it for what it is and start warming up. Don't judge the ebbs and flows of your emotional state. Your emotional state is gonna ebb and flow every single day. It's part of being human. But the key to succeeding and being the most attractive, charismatic, confident, and courageous version of yourself is not taking those emotions as biological commands, more just biological suggestions, and being disciplined enough to take action regardless. So hopefully this helped you out, man. Hopefully you gained some insights. And if you did, go ahead and drop a like on the video. And if you're not already subscribed to the Raw Dating Advice family, then hit that subscribe button. And as you're going out and implementing everything you've learned in this video, if you want to learn how to be better at attracting the women that you do end up talking to, I highly recommend checking out my book, 107 Proven Ways to Get the Girl. In this book, you're gonna get literally 107 different ways to attract women in conversation. And the book itself is free. Just go to howtogetthegirlnow.com. And I will see you in the next episode of Raw Dating Advice. Peace out.